Good morning, fathers. This is Leo, Ed, and Jose here with Fit for Fatherhood. First of all, we won't want to miss this. We want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We are recording on Sunday, May 10th. We're just excited to, one, we wouldn't be fathers without mothers, obviously. But you guys do so much for us, able to do what we do. We're very grateful for everything that you guys contribute, that we're able to grow and make our families a lot better. With that being said, we're going to talk today about episode 6, and it's going to be about sacrifices and rewards of fatherhood. And we all gone through them all, right? Sometimes sacrifices feel like they're more than rewards. Sometimes rewards feel bigger than the sacrifices. At the end of the day, it's all worth it. So we're going to jump in with the first part, which is before kids, right? How were we before kids? What do sacrifices feel like? Or what do rewards feel like? We'll start with from Jose, youngest, and then we'll go to me and to Ed, which is the oldest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think my sacrifices felt a little different because I was still very young. Um, Became a father at 18, and what were seen as sacrifices before were actually blessings for me because I didn't hang out with who I guess some of the things that I was involved in weren't the best, and one of the biggest sacrifices that I had to make was I ended up cutting out a lot of friendships out of my life. And for me, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise. Some of those friends aren't doing too well right now, and I always wonder, would I have been in that same situation had I not cut those friendships out of my life when my son was born. My focus was just my son, work, and I started school. I started college at that time, and that was my whole focus. Went pretty much cold turkey. Went from hanging out with them every single day to sorry, my son. He's on the way. My son, my family's my focus, and that's it. And for me, that has to be the situation in order for me to be able to let go of things. I can't like gradually let go of something. I have to just go cold turkey, and it worked out for the best for me. But it was a little bit of a sacrifice, and it was a bit of an adjustment going from going out every single day, hanging out with friends to just one day just not doing that at all. Seemed like a sacrifice, but I enjoy it. My best friends
Yeah,
now are 3 feet tall. Or not even know if they're all 3 feet yet, but it's a nice. Think it was a
nice
nice
change. Yeah.
sacrifice. Yeah, definitely
What
nice
what
change.
do you, what do you think sacrifices were before having kids? Right? Because I know before having kids, things seemed huge. Like sacrifices seem big, but then when you're a father, they seem like chump change compared to the real sacrifices we make now as fathers. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that was probably what I thought were sacrifices. But now it's common for us to just say, well, we have to pick and choose what we want to spend our time doing. Is it
Yeah.
going out, or is it being with family? But I can't think of anything else really that I had to really sacrifice other than that. Because when we're kids, we don't have a lot of sacrifices that we make.
Yeah, no, that's true. I had kids at 31. So when I was growing up, going through college, going through starting my career, I thought there was sacrifices, right? When like I'm working 5, 6 days a week and then boss hits me up and say, hey, we need to get this done tomorrow. And it's the seventh day. You think it's a big sacrifice. Like, yeah, who cares? I'll go do it tomorrow. Boom. And then you feel like you need a reward. You go out, you party without worrying about it because you felt like you sacrificed so much that week, right? And I feel like those become so little because being a parent is like working overtime 7 days a week, right? So they become so little compared to what you felt when I was younger. And it's cool too, man. I remember like when papers were due, thinking, "Oh man, I'm sacrificing partying. I'm sacrificing, you know, sometimes even work just to get school done." They become so little compared to being a father. And but at the moment, when you're young, you feel like, dang, I just exerted myself at the maximum level to get this done, and that was a huge sacrifice. And I think the difference too is back then with before kids, when you sacrifice something, you feel like you. At least I did, right? I'm probably speaking out of turn, but I would feel like I need to reward myself for the sacrifice I just made, whether it was a midterm, whether it was working a lot for a couple weeks, whatever it was, I would need to reward myself or my wife or whoever was in my circle that helped me throughout that time because we just did a big sacrifice. And even though those still happen as a father, you see it as as a duty more than you saw it before kids, right? Like now working more is a duty to your family, a duty to your wife. So it's not a good reward based system anymore for me, right? Because that was my mentality. It's like, shoot, I just knocked this out. I need to go get I need to go out, I need to go on vacation. I need to buy myself something because I just did a sacrifice with a reward for it. And now I think as a father, it's totally different. Every sacrifice that you don't even, at least I don't recognize the sacrifices until I sit down and look at them because at the same time, you're just doing it because you care about the kids. And yeah, I don't, the reward is always just them, them surviving, thriving, growing, and when you see like the little milestones, like my kid yesterday, man, my mom's in town and my 11-month-old started taking steps yesterday. That was awesome. So like the first kid to do first steps in Mexico was pretty cool. Yeah. What about you, Ed? Sacrifices?
Yeah, I kind of want to answer this a little differently. Today's Mother's Day, and like fun fact, Mother's Day in Panama is December 8th. So
What?
my
That's
mom
cool.
celebrates twice a year, and my wife technically three times, but sometimes U.S. and Mexican Mother's Day on different days.
Yeah.
But like thinking about that this morning, you know, I I can't. I like to compare a little bit to see where I'm at to where I came from, and like the sacrifices that my parents made when they had me
Yeah.
were just ginormous compared to the ones that I made. So like my mom was walking, getting her nursing diploma at the University of Panama with me in the womb, you know, and like soon after, the U.S. invaded Panama, and my mom was there by herself. My dad was here in the U.S., and so my dad always trying to look for the better thing for their family. He actually missed all of our births. Like he really wasn't present because he was out grinding, trying to come up. And when my mom came to meet him here, she basically gave up her entire career. Like she never actually practiced as a nurse, which she went to school and got her degree in because she moved to the U.S. and they didn't honor her degree here. She would have had to start over and she didn't. So she ended up working like warehouse jobs and just like random sales jobs. She's a caregiver now, which kind of uses her degree, but like just huge sacrifice. Like think about us that went to college and like just moving to another country and having to basically not use everything that you just studied for. So like really big sacrifices. And my parents had me about the same time that I had our first kid, 25. But for Samir and I, we were like in SoCal, finished school, got our degrees. I had my first engineering job. And when we were about to have our son, we moved to Seattle. So all the support network that we had established in San Bernardino, we just cut. And so coming up here, like we to chase the career, we sacrifice our entire network of any kind of support. So we moved from sunny SoCal to gloomy Seattle, had nobody. We had our first kid, he ended up being on the spectrum, which is extra challenging. Then had our second. And like, man, you know, it was really, really hard. That's probably one of the hardest things that we've done because we didn't know what we were doing for one, and we didn't have nobody to really lean on. And I was working at
Yeah.
Amazon all the time, which if you ever read the New York Times article, like that was literally my team. It was super intense. Our VP would be yelling at people in their face. People would be crying at work. Like we were working stupid hours. And I would work 12-hour days sometimes. Sometimes I worked the weekend and my wife was at home by herself with our son trying to deal with him, trying to help him in this situation that we didn't know how to handle. So that took a huge toll on us personally as a couple. And it was at that sacrifice that we took it helped me in my career. Like, that job at Amazon was a big, huge break for me and for our career. And it got us basically out of the hole. It moved us to a different bracket, if you will. And so like, you really got to weigh those things out 10 years later, which is where I'm at now. And like, was it worth it? You know what I mean? And like looking at the people and how things worked out, if would have worked out if I would have stayed back there, like, I think it was worth it. Like, We definitely propelled ourselves to a next level. And what's interesting is I can almost answer this as a third part. Was like we had those two kids, right? I worked at Amazon for 5 years. It was pretty intense the whole time. And towards the end of that, like, our marriage was kind of falling apart, to be honest. I was working too much. But then between there and Meta, like I took a month off. Meta let me sign to on, and they gave me a month before I can start, which is pretty crazy, I thought at the time. And so I basically took all of the like PTO and whatever other time off I got paid out because I didn't use, and like that covered me for that whole month basically. So we just like hung out, vacation. It was a summer. I remember I have pictures of me like just being in the little kiddie pool with the kids and just enjoying the summer out here. And I remember mentally preparing myself to like just do things differently as I went in and started working at Meta. Meta's a lot better at work-life balance, if you will. But here, like, we rebuilt our relationship, we found our church, and now we're having two kids again, right? Like, we just had our son, he's 1 month and like, or sorry, a year and 10 months. We're about to have our daughter, like, literally today, could be today. And like, we're just completely different, more mature parents. And now it's almost like, man, I feel like I'm sacrificing time with them in these early years by going to work. And so like my mind has completely flipped. Luckily, we have much better benefits. Like I have close to 3 months parental leave that I can take off to spread out through the year. Like I didn't have this at all with the first two. Like I remember getting yelled at for taking half days to go monitor his heart rate at the hospital when I got back from that. I remember being in the labor room having to send an update to our VP because our TPM and my manager were on vacation about where things were, and I sent it to the wrong person because he was Indian. And so I sent it to the wrong, same Indian name, but to someone in India who's a security guard, exposing a bunch of intellectual property. They had to like get it in front of that email and stop it. And I was like, well, bro, like I'm in the delivery room. Like, what do you guys expect? On my phone, tapping an update. And like our life was completely different now. Like with my tail, I took a week off before he even came. I can do that now again. And like, I just really try to be there for these times that I know are few and far between because times go by fast. And so that's kind of where I'm at with things, man. I've kind of flipped the script. You know, I think this time that we have with them is just precious. Like we just won't get it
Yeah,
back. So I'm trying to be better and spend more time with them in these golden times and almost see not spending time with them as a sacrifice. That's kind of where I'm at.
man, and that's huge. And I think Jose and I, we spoke about this on the previous episode of when my kids were born. I think they were 8 months. That's when I decided to cut ties with a job and take my full throttle leave as a self-employed. And then I think I came up with like sacrifice stability for availability, right? Because instead of having that stable job, which I was accustomed to, I chose to be more available for my kids. And yeah, I remember doing that and it was insane, especially like the Mexican culture. My mom, my wife's parents were like, what are you doing, bro? Like you had a good job. You worked for this company, you worked for the county. Why would you do that? And I was like, dude, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there as much as I can, not just for my kids, but for my wife. I mean, you brought up sacrifices your mother, right? When my mom came from Mexico over here and same thing, she had a bachelor's degree in accounting. When you come over here, you can't use it. I mean, she ended up getting a job in accounting, but as an accountant, it took years before that happened. I think it took like 16 years before she was able to actually get a job as an accountant. And just to get the paperwork took a long time. But those sacrifices that the parents, at least my mother did, and your parents did, Ed, and I'm sure every parent does a lot of sacrifices, but that immigration parent, when they come here, they really don't have anything, right? And they're just grinding it out, figuring it out, but still somehow putting us first. And now that we're the millennial parents, that we do have the accessibility of college, the accessibility of good jobs, health benefits, all that good stuff, we're looking for the same thing. But as far as better for our kids, but it doesn't look the same. So it feels, I think, different to the previous generation of, what are you doing? This is how we did it and we made you good. Yeah, but you guys had to do a lot more sacrifices. Thanks to your guys' breaking down doors, we don't have to do all this. to be able to provide for our kids properly, right? And you put it on here right now, but the sacrifices of our significant others, man, our wives, man. So everybody here, we'll talk about this just a little bit more. I want to do it like a good segment on me moving to Mexico in the process, but that took me, I would say now, 3 years. I was ready to move to Mexico about a year and a half ago. I was going to buy a property in San Miguel de Allende, which is another really good area in Mexico. But then while we were here looking over there, San Miguel de Allende looking for properties, my wife got pregnant with our now Emilio's, our son, our last son. And so we canceled all that, stayed 1 more year in the United States. And then finally we made the move to Mexico. So we're now living in Merida. But when I tell you the sacrifices that my wife has done is unbelievable, because to her family and to her, so even herself, nobody moved within outside of a 50-mile radius from Colton, right? Everybody lived within a 50-mile radius. Everybody, all kids, from the grandpa to the 9 kids that he had to the kids that those kids had. All of them moved within a 50-mile radius. Yeah, some of them probably went to college, but they all came back. And then my wife's sister moved to LA, just maybe a little bit more than 50 miles. Almost everybody moved within a 50-mile radius. So when we told them we were moving, or when I was even brought that idea up to my wife, she was like, "What? No, heck no. We can go vacation over there, but we're not moving over there." And then it took a lot of like me having to research and put the packets together and say, "Hey, look, where can we find this in California for our kids? Okay, tell me then how much it costs here, and look what the quality of education that we're getting over here, or the quality of life that we can get over here." And it literally took a year and a half of presentations and showing her, like, you do your own research and you tell me where should we be parenting at. And that was my approach, and it worked. I mean, it ended up working, right? We're here. But to give you a little viewpoint on Merida is very family oriented. We've been here a little bit over a month now, and every restaurant, even fine dining restaurants, have a kids play area, and they have a lady or two that are constantly watching your kids. They have you on a cell phone, and they'll text you if any updates if they want to come down. And you can see them through the window, and there's also cameras that you can watch TVs where your kids are at. And that's from a place called Boston's, which is kind of like a BJ's or like a generic family restaurant, to like a top steakhouse. They have kids areas, right? And then there's education is a little bit better, sports, and everything's, at least from where we were at Riverside, this has a lot of better opportunities, and obviously the culture. But the sacrifices that my wife had to do to change to come over here was huge.
That's awesome, man. I'm gonna need your wife to talk to my wife because I'm just starting on
Man.
your 3-year journey. Like, she got pregnant, our kid's about to be born. When I told her, I was
Yeah.
like, "We should move to Panama." She was like, "What? Nah, you tripping." I was like, "Let's
Yeah.
do it." She's like,
Yeah, we just gotta get on the phone, or when you guys come down, on better weather, don't come in May, but, we'll go to the beach and we'll chop it up. You'll see the difference.
"Believe you."
Yeah, and just along those topics here, just I know a lot of people say, Leo, how long were you with your wife before you got married? You were with her for about like 10 years, weren't you?
No, I was with her for a long time. Oh, before I got married, yes, 8 years. So
eight
we met
years.
when I was 18. She
Okay.
was 20, and, yeah, we got married when we were 26, 28,
What about you,
26.
Ed?
We were, I mean, we got married at 25. We were probably dating for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, but we've known each
Okay.
other for 5 years. And
Okay.
we were like, let's do it. But I'm gonna move quick.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I was with my wife for about 3 years, but we were teenagers when we were together. I was 15 when I first met her. But here, and I think it may be a little different for all of us. For me, I was my my wife got pregnant, or my girlfriend at the time was not my wife, um, got pregnant. So we didn't see it as, let's try to enjoy our lives as much as possible before we have kids, because he just came
Yeah.
out. You, Leo, and you, Ed, were there any moments that you felt like, oh man, we sacrificed this and now we have kids? Or were you guys prolonging or postponing having kids in order to enjoy certain things in life as a couple before you had kids?
That's a good perspective because like I was in a previous relationship for a long time and it wasn't working out. And so I ended that. And I was like in a hurry, I felt, to have kids because I always wanted to have kids at 25. And, we didn't have like a honeymoon phase. We didn't do what Leo did and have like an extravagant wedding that was well planned out, for months in advance and date for 8 years and travel the world and stuff like that. Like we did sacrifice doing that. And I think we went on like a honeymoon to Hawaii. Our son was a baby, and like we left him with I think my mom or her family in San Diego. And I remember that being super hard to like even do and leaving with someone our first kid. And we had a great time. We have fond memories of that. Honestly, that probably was it. Like we've never had like just her and I trip. Like I love traveling and I've traveled a lot through work, but like every time I'm on these trips, I'm like, man, I would love to do this with my wife. She has not seen the world like I have. She's never been to Europe, for example, never been to Asia. She's only been in Mexico and Latin America. And like that is something that we absolutely sacrifice. Like just her and us just traveling and just being, you know, there's no plan, bro. Just like go and just do whatever. Like not have to worry about nothing. Like there's always a constant worry. Even if you leave your kid with someone you trust, it's like they sleep, they eat. Like how are they? They hear you on the phone. They want to see you. They just start crying and like that's just a lingering thing. And now with these two, like we prolonged it. Like we honestly were gonna go to Europe for our 10-year anniversary. She really wants to go to Italy. I've been there. We're gonna take the train up to Switzerland. I've been to Switzerland a couple of times and I speak highly of it. And we had our 10-year wedding anniversary. We had an actual wedding, kind of like Leo's, not as cool, but close. And then we were gonna go, but we had a baby, like a surprise baby. So like we're probably gonna go on this Europe trip for 5 years or so, man. So we have definitely those are sacrifices that we have made. And so I think, when you do those kind of things, like you have a bond with your spouse in a certain way.
Yeah,
But
I
when you
agree.
do these, like Jose, your situation was almost like an emergency. Like you knocked her up, bro. Like let's be honest. Like oh shit, what are we gonna do? And like that was like an emergency thing. And mine was almost in between. It was like it was a sort of it was an emergency, but it was a sort of plan. Like we were trying, but we were not trying. I guess I would say. But like then I was like, oh crap! Like yeah, we gotta do this thing. We gotta completely change everything that we were thinking about doing in our life. We didn't have a time to just leisurely just go about and like not have anybody wake you up in the morning for hours. You know what I mean? So like that is definitely something that we sacrifice, like more honeymooning time. But Leo, I want to hear about all your honeymooning, bro.
Yeah, our approach, man, I had so even when I was in high school, I had a list of 12 things of what I wanted in a girl, and that's why I knew I wanted to. That's why I knew I wouldn't have a serious girlfriend until I found a girl that had at least most of them in there. So with that point is, I had that list. I found my wife, and then I had a list of what was going to happen until we got married and had kids. And it was our careers. It was college. It was for a while in college. I was questioning finishing college, but then obviously my wife went ahead and finished college. And then my goal was to buy a house. We bought the house, and then we get married, then buy the house, and then from there I said let's wait 2 years to have kids so we can travel. And yeah, with extravagant wedding, man. If it was up to me, we would have went to the courthouse and then got married, or not even the courthouse. 'Cause still don't even believe in civil marriage, man. I would rather just get married through the God's eyes and my wife, and not put it on paper. You know, get two FHAs if we can. But my wife and wife's family were all about. This is my first daughter. This is the first wedding they're setting up. The first ones that to theirs like that didn't get married or sorry have kids or moved in together before. So it was kind of like a staple in their eyes. Like, oh, these people actually, my daughter and her husband have followed what we wanted for them to do. So they spent a lot of money on a mission in wedding and had like 150 people. It was yeah, I think it cost from the numbers I remember, it was like 50K, a little bit over 50K. And I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. But then from there, our honeymoon was Bora Bora. We went to Bora Bora for for 7 days, which was amazing, right? That one came out of our pockets, but we did get the flights covered from my in-laws. But spend that so for that 2 years that we didn't have kids while we were married, our plan was to travel. Like 3 different Laker games, we would go see them at different cities. We went to New York, we went to Boston to go watch the Lakers, just to because we liked the Lakers. And then we did do an Ireland trip, which was probably one of my favorite countries besides Mexico. So amazing. The people are very, very warm, very welcoming. And then from there we went to Barcelona. And then after that, we started trying to have kids after the first year. We traveled and we're like, okay, let's start trying. And then we talked about like the issues we had having them. But yeah, like almost everything has been thought out and written out to go to plan. And obviously not everything works accordingly, but it did to a certain extent. It is going accordingly, But yeah, we did the whole travel. Even before we were married, we would go to Cancun, Puerto Vallarta. We would do a lot of like Mexico locations. I took my wife to meet my dad one time. I think that was the last time, and the only time she saw my dad. Well, we took her to Mexico, and yeah, we traveled a lot, and that is a big sacrifice that we did with kids. Having kids, that stopped, right? I think the furthest we've gone was when my wife graduated with her master's. Her school was in Oregon, so we flew to Oregon with the kids, and then obviously Mexico, right? Like it was more of that's the only 2 flights we've done with all the kids, and it's not the same at all, right? There's no sitting by the beach, drinking a tequila or a beer. You're constantly watching them. If you can't sneak in a beer, you sneak in 2, So it's a different type of vacationing, and that is a different sensation. And I guess it's kind of like when you never had it, so you don't know what you're missing, kind of things.
Mhm.
Like if you never went on vacation with just your wife, you don't really feel it as bad. And I think Nicole and I were reminiscing on our vacations, like, dang, remember we came here last time, but we didn't have any kids. So yeah, I think that is a different reward and different sacrifice for sure.
Traveling with a bunch of kids is hard, man. Like I
Yeah,
sacrifice not going to a lot of friends' weddings, including yours, Leo, because of
yeah,
that. Like it's an extra flight
kid.
ticket. Like, oh, who's gonna watch him? Like these are real sacrifices. But what about like other personal sacrifices, guys? Like one that comes to mind for me a lot is sleep, but also like career goals or fitness goals, finance goals. Like, I mean, I 6.5 hours of sleep is my annual average for my Oura ring for a couple of years now. Like that's probably pretty good, but being that's an average, there are days where it's definitely less. I can't maintain a fitness plan, dude. Like I just can't. I try and go play sports and be active and socially active, try to sort of kill 2 birds with one stone. Or like I went on the 12-mile bike ride with my son yesterday. Like that was a win-win. I gotta like figure
Yeah,
out how to include them in this now or get 2 wins out of things that'll benefit me. I can't selfishly just go to the gym or and even when I would wake up early to work out at home in the garage, I have the tonal like on the wall, which is I like it. But it's like I would have to wake up and be in there 5 to 6. But that usually I don't go to sleep until maybe midnight. And who knows how the
hmm
nights, sleep at night. I went hard one month, dude, and I think I almost killed myself. Like I was basically not sleeping just so I can get my workout in. And it wasn't a balancing out and the sacrifice. So that was tough. But also like I think career goals because my wife is at home I've been able to continue that. But finance goals, man, like, dude, it's so hard to do all the things you wanted to when you have 2 now 4 kids and like their accounts and like kids are expensive, man. Like, who are we kidding? And so like, yeah, talk to me a little bit about that, you guys, because I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah, Jose, I want to hear it because you got a almost 16, 17-year-old. I want to see
Right.
what
Oh
that
yeah.
process was.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad that he's pretty much he has a job now. We still pay for 99% of his expenses. I don't know what he does with his money, but it's totally tough. My little ones, they love fruit. As soon as we bring home groceries, it's like they've never eaten in their lives. They'll go and they'll they'll devour everything in front of them. Um, but yeah, it totally is expensive. Finances, totally. I thought I'd be in it's hard to keep up with everything. It's like
Yeah.
with just care for the kids, just everything that comes with it, sports that you put them in, all that stuff. But I thought I'd be a lot further. in my where I wanted to be with my financial goals than I am right now, just because it does get expensive. There's a lot of unexpected expenses that come from having multiple kids. So for sure, just that's something that is totally tough. And I don't know if you guys have seen recently how much it costs to raise a kid. I think where's it at? Like $400,000 to
Wasn't it?
$300,000 to raise a kid. And I used
The
to think,
kid
no,
till
that's out.
18. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was outrageous, but no, totally see it. I'm not looking forward to when my three toddlers are teenagers because that once they become teenagers, they become pretty expensive, a little bit more needy. But yeah, definitely financial goals totally little tougher to maintain, but we still have to have the goals, right? At least have those
Yeah.
targets that we want to achieve. Otherwise, we'll just be going into it blindly. And as far as fitness, that usually takes a big toll. Right now, it's been one of those times where I've been consistent for about a month and then been inconsistent for the following month where I'm barely able to go into the gym. These past couple of weeks has been tough. I've been getting into the gym maybe once or twice a week, but like Ed mentioned, it's tough because you feel like you're spending time away from your kids. You're there, you're selfishly spending time away from your kids, and it's been one of the tougher things for me to be able to maintain that balance of fitness and then also of not feeling guilty, not sacrificing that time, especially when I have very limited time right now. Work has been crazy this past month in general has been pretty crazy. So that but when work accelerates, that's when I feel like I'm spending the most amount of time away from my kids. And then I'm selfishly going out for a run or going out to the gym. I feel like I'm taking away 2 hours that I could have spent with my kids. Um, on myself. But yeah, so it's been a little tough, and I know there's like those seasons where you're
Yeah.
good, and then right now I know it's a little tough, but just trying to figure out that balance and just sitting down. I had to sit down and get on the drawing board and say, okay, I need to plan out my schedule and figure out how I can balance all this out. Because uh, if again, if we're doing it blindly, then it's a little tougher to try to achieve those goals or objectives that we have. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I would definitely gonna touch on the selfishly going to work out, right? Because I read a couple articles and then definitely social media, right? Social media will tell you it's not selfish because you're taking care of yourself so you can be there for them more. But it does feel selfish, right? When you're doing it, when you wake up early and you're getting in the car to go to the gym, you're like, fuck, what if my other son wakes up and my wife's feeding the baby and then now she has to deal with two. So then I turn off the car, I get back inside and I'll get some push-ups in or I'll run for 20 minutes. But my whole workout plan is out the door because of that little selfish seed of thought comes in and is like, no, man, what are you doing? What if one of the kids wake up and now your wife's dealing with two wake up babies? And the question is it selfish or selfless, right? Because you are taking care of yourself so that one, what is our job protecting, right? We want to be able to wear as fit as possible, not as fit as possible, but fit enough to protect, right? We want to be able to play with them because they don't play with us like they play with their moms. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. Ed, your goal is to be a grandpa. We want to make sure you want to do that with your grandkids. So fitness should be something that we incorporate, but where's that line and how do we not feel guilty of being close to that line of selfishness and self-care, you know? But as far as the sacrifices, I mean, the community here that we live in now, I can walk 3 steps down and there's a whole gym. I mean, it's not like the best gym, but it's a gym enough with weights and certain machines. And I've been trying to do that, waking up early, but like you said, sometimes we're not going to sleep till 11, 12 because one of the kids had a late nap and we're screwed trying to keep up with them and trying to get them tired. So that takes a toll. And then waking up, going to sleep at midnight or 1. And that's also another point I want to bring in. Like when the kids finally go to sleep, like at 11 o'clock, because one had a bad night, my wife and I like to at least try. I mean, we both fall asleep, have a little bit of me time. We'll pick a show or a movie and try to sit there and watch it together. But I mean, we end up falling asleep, but we want some like, okay, decompression time. So we end up sleeping later than what we originally wanted to. And then be able to get fitness in, I got to wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning. So that's like a 4 or 5 hour sleep time. And yeah, it does seem impossible. I definitely gained some weight since I moved here just because settling in plus working to provide has been That's took away from the fitness side, no matter how close it is. But integrating them is a good idea, Ed. I think you taking them out for a bike ride. I don't know if you guys follow on social media, but there's like a little on the gym that we have here. There's like a little field, and I took them and I gave them kettlebells, and we were doing squats with the kettlebells. Did some sprints with them in that little field. Yeah, because I was like, I need to get some kind of workout in. So we took them out. My wife was pushing the baby, and I had the other three on kettlebells. And, I mean, yeah, that was one time this week, right? So hopefully we do it twice next week to keep up with the fitness side of things, but
Yeah, I gotta
yeah,
admit,
integrating it has been tough.
I was inspired by Jose because I see him out there riding his bike with his kids and taking his kids to the gym. And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, dude, like that's what we have to do. Like, I mean, if you're gonna get it in, like you might as well bring them along with you. And that
yeah,
goes along with what I said previously, even in career things like work things, just teaching them, what you're doing, like just try to bring them along. And I feel like if I bring them along on what I'm doing, it doesn't feel so much like a give and take, It feels like we're sort of doing this together. And like for
mm,
example, I got a project car right now because I like Volkswagen tinkering, nothing new, right? And so I'm like, you know what? But I want to do this with my kids. I want to bring them along. And like honestly, they don't really care that much. But I've been able to teach them a couple things here and there. Like this is how this system works, or this is what a torque value is, or you have to put the bolts on the wheel in this pattern. Like I
that's cool.
realize that we know so much and we're responsible for passing that knowledge down. But then I'm like, well, how did I learn? And I was like, dude, I learned by doing. Like, I just figured this out by myself, and it took me a long time. But if I can teach them, like, that's an advantage. And so, like, I'm not perfect at like working out and I have a strategy and all that. But like, there are things that I do enjoy doing. I like to do, like going on hikes or, riding bikes. And like, we haven't been doing a lot of hikes anymore because, bro, it's four kids. Like, we got three kids. We got to look around. But like right now in the summer in Seattle, like, dude, you have to get outside because we have like a short window of this. And so I went on this bike trail for the first time. And bro, I've been up here 10 years. I never been on this trail before. It is gorgeous. I literally was like, I can't
Awesome.
believe we live here. Like it's a paved path right next to a river the whole time. We're just riding bikes on this flat paved trail by this river. Like I actually rode. I figured out I could ride all the way to my work if I wanted to. It was like a 12-mile ride, well, 6 miles one way. And my son was like, "I'm tired," because he just usually doesn't ride this much. I'm like, "We're almost there. Like we're almost there. We'll be right there." But like it was awesome. I pushed him, I pushed myself, and we got a good workout in, and we did this together. And so like I just really try to bring them along on the stuff I do, and it feels like a win-win when I can at least bring one of them along with what I'm
Yeah.
doing and then teach them what I know. And like, it just feels more beneficial that way. So that's like what I'm trying to do now because it's hard.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's the small things. It's that the kids remember when they're older. You know, yeah, the Disneyland trips are cool and going to Universal Studios and all that stuff, but going out for a bike ride there in nature with your dad, that's priceless. Helping in your dad or your dad teaching you how to work on a vehicle, that's incredible. The other day I was grilling and then I thought, let me show my son how to turn on the coal, the charcoal on the grill. And he was just there paying attention. Oh, why are you doing that? And just little things. And my 4-year-old. And I thought, okay, it's awesome. Just having him next to me and then showing him this. It's pretty awesome. But just aside from that, I know we talked a little bit about careers and we touched upon about careers. Now, sacrificing time from your kids because of your careers, how do you manage that? How do you feel about that? I know we touched upon it very briefly. Ed, you talked about it. Leo, I think you talked about it. So how do you feel? Do you have that guilt, the same guilt that when we go to the gym and spending time away from our kids, going to the gym, do you still have the same guilt as you're building your careers?
Well, I would say, yeah, I have the guilt of like, man, I could probably make a lot more money if I focused on my career to give them more stuff, right? Or not stuff in a sense of like physical things, but maybe contribute more to their 529s or index funds to that they're set. Because my whole goal with these kids is I know statistically the most expensive part of a human's life is between 25 to 40, right? That's when you're getting married. That's when you're having kids. That's when you're buying a house. And that's the time where most people don't have the help. That's when everybody's figuring it out, and we figured it out ourselves. But not how cool would it have been have we had somebody to give us a down payment for a house, or our in-laws. Obviously, everybody has good parents too, and I'm sure they help out. My mother-in-law, my mom helps out a lot too. But there comes a time where if we prepped for that, that would be better, right? So going back to the original questions, I feel if I chose a career, like a straight on company, work for a career, could probably make more money, but then my availability wouldn't be there. And I do feel guilty in the sense of, man, I could be setting it up correctly or at the best of my ability with finances, right? But if I also feel like, man, finances isn't everything. There's being there, there's showing them, there's that love, I guess, with your kid that I feel is more important. And I chose that route. I chose a route to, I mean, obviously provide, and we're doing well, but we have the right things that we need. But yeah, could we have been doing better? Could my wife be driving a Escalade instead of a Lexus? If I would have chose a different life, or could we have a 6 bedroom house with 7 bathrooms instead of a 4 bedroom, four bath? Those things. And does that matter, right? But and then who's the one does it matter for? Does it matter for society? Does it matter for my kids? And which one is my goal? And I think that's where the guilt comes because it's not what I don't know how to say it. Like it's not what the norm success is, but it is what my family is happy. I look for the approval of my family instead of society. But sometimes it's hard because society, man, who wouldn't want a nice Escalade and a big, huge house?
Yeah, I think for me, like just this week, man, like I'm about to go on parental leave, and so I'm the directly responsible individual for the specific work stream that I'm working on right now. And like there's just the work never ends, man. There's just so much work to do. But like not only do I need to be here for my wife, which honestly I feel like I could be better by working less lately, but also like our kids, man. Again, like the weather is here and it was my daughter's birthday and like she wanted me to just take her to the park after work and like by the time I got home we didn't have that much time to go to the park. So I missed one day. The next day was her birthday. I left early so I can be here for her birthday. And I was like, Friday, I'm gonna take you to the park. And like I left early enough and I got home and I was like, let's go to the park. Like, let's go to the park. And so I got the 2 kids and the 3 of them. And like we went to the park and I got this little project car, Volkswagen Cabrios convertible. And we're like, yeah, let's put the top down and I put 10-inch subwoofers in there. And I'm like, they gotta understand what it is to be subbing. Like they gotta know Volkswagen stuff and like how, what it is to be subbing. And so we're just still there doing top down subbing, going to the park and just running around the park, like whatever, dude. Like we spent there for an hour. And again, I was like, man, I can't believe we live here, all these green trees. And it was like, man, there I could have worked 60 hours that week and it probably wouldn't have made a dent in the overall what I really wanted to do. But like that hour that I had with my kids subbing in the cabrio, like they're gonna remember that. Like they are
Yeah,
gonna remember that. Like they literally are feeling this experience. And
yeah,
so I really gotta like try to do that more. And like honestly, it was a win-win-win because my wife got a break because I took all 3 of them. And so like I'm constantly chasing those double, triple wins now these days because man, it's tough. But like one thing that I have stopped doing, and sometimes I regret it, but I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'm not turning the computer on at night. Like I used to come to work come home, spend an hour or two with the family, and then I would log back in at night. And I do it from time to time, but it's usually no more than an hour just to like, because sometimes I have companies that are in different time zone or that start really early. And so I need to get something either to even be able to have overlap with them or for them to have this information before their shift starts the next day because in time zone. Um, and like, I've done that, but dude, I used to spend hours at night. I would just be working till like 1 in the morning doing whatever. And like, bro, that also would kill me because then I got to wake up early still again and just get no sleep. So there are things that I've been sort of having to manage to be able to sustain the life that we have. And like, dude, like the Meta's about to have a big layoff here on the 20th of May, and it's really sad again because a lot of people are losing their job. I really all these layoffs that I've survived now, I really put me into perspective. Like, bro, we're just a number here, man. Like, we can be kicked down the curb any day, basically. But like my family is not that way. Like I am
Yeah.
the father, I am the husband, I am the breadwinner. And like I'm very confident that if I was to lose my job, like I can find another one. I can be self-employed if I wanted to. Like I can come up with something. I could do something. And so having that mindset, it's just like, yeah, like these days, these hours with them is crucial. Like there's nobody else that can do my job. Somebody else can be hired
Yeah.
and do the job I'm doing at work, but nobody else can get hired to do what I'm doing as a father, as a husband.
Yep.
So I've been trying to in my career, like I still have career goals, man. I'm hungry and I want to do more, but like at least this year and even last year, I'm in a moment of like just sort of pause, like try to hold on and maintain the great job that I have. But also like I have two young children and I have two children preteening. Like this is my absolute primary focus. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at.
I love that. Yeah, totally. And you're totally right, Ed, about being a number, because that's something that I personally think that the newer generations have gotten right. It's harder to hire people because they're very I guess very selective of what they want, like the work-life balance. But at the same time, like our parents, they grind it out. They would sacrifice their bodies, their time with their family for a job that did they really care about them, or for a company that really cared about them? Um, who knows? Maybe they did, maybe, and probably they didn't. And that's something that I've seen, and I actually do appreciate the new generation pushing for it, being able to have a little bit more of a balance, because it doesn't make sense for us to sacrifice, 40 years of our life, not be able to spend time with our family, not be able to do a lot of things for a company that at the end of the day they could just lay you off at any point in time. But yeah, and it's something that I've had to also learn. And I started building a company when I was only like 23, 24 years old, and I would just sacrifice every minute with my kid, my first kid. That's something that's completely changed now that I'm older and with my next set of kids. But I used to just miss games, miss birthdays, miss all kinds of things, just because I was so focused on something that yeah, I love my company and what I built, but it shouldn't have been my priority. Probably my priority should have been my son. And I've learned that now, where the work's always going to be there. The work will always be there. And no, it doesn't matter. Like you have all these, you can work till 2, 3 in the morning, but there's still always going to be work left over the next day. So,
Hmm.
oh, but that 1 hour that you spend with your kid, that's totally invaluable. But yeah, definitely sacrificing your time with your family for your career is something that I've had to learn to not do, because I did it for so long with my first kid. And I see it in our relationship. I see how him and his mom, they've always been together. While I was at work till 2, 3 in the morning, they were there waiting for me. They're like best friends, which I love to see. But that relationship between him and I, it's not really, that connection isn't really there. And I think it probably was because of all the because I sacrificed, my priorities weren't in the right place when I was raising him. And so now I want to make the same mistake with my 9-year-old and my toddlers right now. So just I've told myself, if they ask me to go to the park, or if they, even if there's work there and I'm stressed out, I need to make time for them, because they're my priority. If this doesn't work out, we'll figure it out, right? We're resilient. All three of us here, we're resilient. We've learned to figure things out. We come pretty much from nothing, and we've learned to figure things out. And I told myself, if I get fired from this job because I missed my because I wanted to be at my son's event, then so be it. We'll find something else. I know that's something that does I do every year, and it's a little bit selfish. I think, and definitely my wife thinks it's very, very selfish, but I do it again for my family. Is I do go to Vietnam once a year for like a month, but that does put bread on the table. But one thing I'm trying to do now is this year I'll probably take my wife and my oldest son for about a week while I'm over there, so they can experience that. But it's something where I'm spending some time away from my kids, and I'll tell you guys, every single year that I go. First couple days is great. Having 50-cent beers in Vietnam is incredible. But then third day, fourth day, man, I'm almost in like a depression because I miss my kids so much. So, but yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's definitely thinking of what our priorities are. That's something that I may even phase out because I want that time away from my kids. It's it's something that I'm trying to minimize as much as possible. But definitely careers, we tend we tend to put our careers, and it makes sense because it's what helps us put food on the table for our families. But sometimes we have to figure out where our priorities lie. And I think all three of us here are doing what we're doing because for our kids. It's not because we selfishly want more for ourselves. We selflessly want more for our kids more than for ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy when I go to I'm okay sleeping on the floor mat, on the floor. All my
Yeah.
clothes comes from Costco. I see a $15 shirt there that looks nice. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a nice deal. I'm not I'm not out there buying. I bought myself a $50 polo the other day, and oh my goodness, here in my pocket. I felt like I was taking food away from my kid buying a $50 polo the other day, and but yeah, so again, we're doing all this. Everything we're doing right now is pretty much is selflessly for our kids, and
Yeah.
I know you guys, so I know that's definitely the case for all three of us here.
Yeah. And as far as pursuing like what we're doing here for pursuing careers, obviously we're self-employed, but my next project I'm excited for. Obviously my wife has her own business and she has no business background, right? But she's good at what she does. So when it comes to sales, marketing, structure, I kind of helped her with it, but I wanted to see how far she can take it. But the project for May and a little bit of June is I got to stable out my stuff, like my clients that I have. I'm not going to go get any more and I'm going to focus on hers and I'm going to try to blow her stuff up. 'Cause I think her business has a high potential, but just having that project in mind, and it's something that I'm doing with my wife, I think is gonna be fun, right? Because it's like her and I are gonna tackle her business together and see what we can come out of it. What's the best outcome, right? Because that's the whole goal of this trip over here, of this moving, is to see what can we do with this nucleus of her and I and our kids. What's the most that we can do as far as financial, emotional, physical. It's kinda like a test to ourselves of what we can do as a core. But that project is so exciting, man. I don't know if you guys know what she does. She has a nutrition business, and she goes deep into nutrition because that's where her master's is. But she can do genetic testing to see what's actually good for you. She can do, blood panels, and then dive deep into what foods actually cause certain effects of inflammation to how your body breaks down stuff. Obviously, she can tell you a lot more about it, but I'm excited just to sell the crap out of it because to me it's such an easy sell. And then we're invested in a boot camp. Jose, you know about it, but I don't know that if you're familiar, but we started a boot camp in California, and it's called Pathways. I have the shirt here right here. But that's her business too, is Pathways Nutrition and Pathways Fitness. So we incorporate that with the nutrition, and we're gonna see this week what comes out of it. But the fun part is like the kids are gonna be involved. We're gonna do videos of them working out. So that means we have to work out. Then my wife and I are gonna be doing all the. I'm gonna be doing the sales. She's gonna be doing what she wants to do, which is just the nutrition, sending out the panels. But that involvement of all of us together is gonna be fun. Or we hope it's gonna be fun. Whether it's fun or not, it's gonna be a good experience that the kids are gonna be like, "Damn, remember when we were working out and just to make videos for mom's business?" So those are little careers, I think career goals that are not like, "Man, I wanna become the top CEO of this company." It's more like, "Hey, let's do this, make some money," and then it's a family event. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's huge
that's
right now. The
uh,
health,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Right
it's
now, you're
coming.
seeing, yeah, a lot of companies blow up in that sector, and you can work out every single day, but if you have a crappy diet,
Nutrition.
you don't see a dent. Yeah, you
mhm.
don't see a dent in your progress. You'll look bigger,
Exactly.
but it's just a bigger belly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we might be clients, Leo. So like, I'm interested. Like, I've been doing blood work, and there's diabetes in my family, so I'm like trying to stay on
yeah.
top of that. and I've been changing
No,
a lot of like my
she has a
eating
lot of
habits and
clients
stuff.
that obviously diabetic, she knows how to help with that. Kids with, ADHD, she t
Mm,
turns people like, she has a client in Texas right now. Her kid, like, totally did a 180 on how he was acting, especially at night, and all of it a lot of it was the diet, and my wife was like
mhm,
and I was surprised how normal they thought cereal was to give a kid, like sugary
mm.
cereal for dinner, right? Like, it's normal, and obviously not in my household because my wife very strict on that, but yeah, like, she changed that's just one of the little of the many things she changed on his diet, but yeah, his whole demeanor and how he acts and, he was diagnosed with one of them was HCG, but he had something else. And yeah, the mother was so excited, so grateful for, the help that my wife did, and all we did I think all she did was, genetic testing and then the panels, and yeah, there was certain things in his blood that could be reduced with just his diet, and it was cool. It was super cool to see that impact. And then when she was going to school, just to bring it back to parenting, I remember thinking because I was the sole breadwinner, and I was like, man, even if this doesn't make money, like if this business doesn't make money, this is a great career for my wife to have, for my kids to learn. To implement it just in our household is a huge blessing to bring in that knowledge. But now we're gonna focus on actually making some money on that business. So yeah, so that project's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I did want to touch on something Jose said that it just stuck with me is that like, because Jose, I follow you guys and I see you out there in Vietnam, bro, getting those beers and like, trying to find a taco spot in Vietnam and like it does look fun. And I've been to Asia quite a bit and like there is that sense of excitement when you're there. But like even a weekend, you're like, man, this is whack. Like I see other families with their kids outside doing stuff and you're just like, you have downtime and you don't even want to do anything anymore because your family and you can't call them because they're on the opposite time when you're on. And like, dude, I feel you. Like I've had those moments I will never forget. I was in China for I think it was 3 weeks, almost a month. I came back and my son did not recognize me. Like he was a little baby, but he did not want me to hold him. And I remember that was the most heartbreaking thing ever. So I wanted to touch on that because we're human too, and we have feelings too. And like, what do we do when we get in these like, "Oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, I'm far away. I'm getting depressed. I'm stressed." And like, I wanted to share and be a little vulnerable. Like, just recently, I got this intense work stream that I have at work, and it's just starting to pick up. And I'm about to go on leave. There's nobody really to, you know, cover me fully. Everybody's sort of taking a piece of the pie. And then like, there's the situations at home, right? And like I read my New Testament every year, and I was in the book of Luke right before Jesus was turned in, if you will. And like when he was stressed out, and he was like so stressed out that he was sweating blood, basically. And I was like, man, that's a crazy phenomenon. But I was having this little feeling of like anxiety almost, and I'm like, man, how am I gonna do this? Like, how are we gonna do all these things? My kid's in bed, I'm about to have another kid. We don't have room in the house. Like, we barely fit in the car. We got bills to pay, like work. And like, dude, like we go through these emotions too. And so I'm really curious, you guys, like, how do you guys handle those situations? Because we still got to be like the man of the house, the leader, the strong person. But like, we get down in the dumps too, man. And like, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I can answer first, but like, I have a couple of groups of guys that I touch base with, and like, this is one of them where like I just share that I've been doing a lot of AI analysis when I find something in my scripture that I'm like, is there more to this? Like, tell me more about what's going on around this time. Like, I feel like I'm missing context, and I've just come up with some awesome discoveries. And I was just sharing with the guys, like, yo, this is how I'm feeling right now. And like, even just to hear validation from other men, like, dude, you are going through a lot right now. Like that is a lot on your plate. Like, you are about to go through some extreme stuff. There is a level of uncertainty on how this birth can go, for example, on how layouts might go, for example, in the next couple of weeks. And so like, I try to open up at least with different groups of men that you know, am close with and whatnot. But like, how about you guys? Like, how do you guys handle this?
Yeah. I'll go. In the States, we had once a month, we had whiskey and book night. with a group of friends that we're all just one of them owns. We're all in like the finance field, but like housing mostly. Most of them are in housing. But anyways, we just meet up. We choose a book that we're reading, and we show up. Everybody brings a different type of bourbon, and you just put it right in the middle, and then you just share it, and you talk about the book, and then but you end up talking about the book, but then you talk about yourself, right? And then same thing, like you open up about like, man, um, I'm open up about the move. Like this move has been so difficult, and I think it's been difficult because I haven't had this, right? I haven't had people that are saying, "Dang, this is good." Most of my surroundings were like, which is my wife's family, were telling us this is like the stupidest thing we've ever done, and all the way up to like the last minute where our van to the airport left, like that's how we felt, or as I felt from there. Like there's very little support. I mean, they told us they were always there. I was like, dude, we're just leaving for a couple of years. Why are they making it seem like it's a it's a huge mistake? But yeah, and then obviously as a father, you those little things start dwelling in my head. Like, dude, am I making the right decision? Like, is this am I making a big mistake for my family right now? And is this the dumbest thing ever? And so, but I think what's happens is everything that I've done as far as like research and in-depth analysis to why I'm making this big decision for my family somehow goes out the wayside because emotions take over. And that doubt is stronger than your common sense and I don't know what you call it, your intelligence. I don't know. The thing that made you to make that decision, it wasn't just a spur of the moment decision. It's a well thought out, well researched, well planned decision. But emotions take over and you're like, man, what am I like? You do start thinking that they're right. Like, man, this is a problem. It might be a problem, but then, when you sit down with people and you tell them and they're like, dude, yeah, I mean, it seems like you got it. And obviously nothing ever works to plan, but you do, things can go wrong. But if you plan it out, you're making a decision, it should be right. And it's not like, you know, I don't know. It's not, I think people see something they're not used to as wrong, right? Or if you're leaving the comfort zone, but I think it affects me as a father because I'm technically making this decision. I wouldn't do it without my wife's approval, but it is my decision. And it's a big family decision. So you kind of question it when you have so much people saying, being negative, like, Danny, is this the right decision? Is this the wrong decision? And yeah, man, it is. Yeah, I haven't had like a group to talk to, but back then we did have the whiskey night, and I would talk to them, and that was the only positive feedback I would get because I would talk to other men, and I would tell them, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna, rent this. We're gonna move here." And I was like, "Dude, it sounds like you got it figured out. That's cool. Let me know how it goes. I might want to join you." There was a doctor there that played soccer with us, and he was over it, bro. He's over the health insurance world, and he's a doctor, and he was like, "Dude, I hate how California is running this. Let me know how this goes." And he just had a kid, his first kid. He's younger. He's like, I'll join you, because he was thinking about moving to Italy, just for a year or two to see how it all pans out. He's like, I have health insurance for my wife, and I have health insurance for my kid, but I don't have health insurance because I think he doesn't like the system it is right now, and he doesn't like where it's headed too. So those are like the positives that I get, right? Like other people going through the same negatives is the positives that I'm like, oh, cool, okay, I am on the right track, on the right direction. And then when I talk to you, Ed, we're like, man, I've been thinking about this too. I'm like, okay, whew, man, it's not just me. I'm not going crazy, you know? But I think the way I deal with them is talking to others. Working out would probably be another one. And then, yeah, I mean, just the everyday stress, like dealing with the kids, 2 4-year-olds and a 2-year-old fighting all day, every day. And I think that when the kids go to sleep, I think I mentioned it earlier, but that wind down, sometimes it requires wine, you know what I'm saying? Or a beer or a drink. Just like, shoot, we made it. Cheers, to my wife. And it's just sipping and then going to sleep. We might not even finish the drink, but at least it just feels like, okay, this is ours. This is our time. Kids can't ask for a drink because they're asleep. So, and I think just having goals to look forward to kind of helps you not think of the failures because we all have failures and we all have stress and we all have, you know, things that we don't do right. Sometimes that go wrong. And having things like, okay, that didn't work out, let's move on. Boom. Oh, that didn't work out, let's move on. And then that having that drive, I think, helps us not get in the slump too much. But we all get in the slump sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And something that has helped me is being a little bit more vulnerable with my wife. She's honestly my best friend, and there's a lot of things that I used to go through alone, just through being a teen dad and just the all the stresses of life. Am I making the right moves? I just instead of going for a career, I decided to start a company. Was that the right move? I just invested in this project. It didn't work out. I just put my family in a hole. So all these things that have happened since I was 18, that are like grown adult problems. There's times where I go in like a almost like a depression, and I used to deal with it alone and just mentally, and my wife would, and I would just blow up all the time, and I was always on edge, and I didn't realize it was because I was dealing with all these demons internally. And then it wasn't until I started opening up to my wife, and now even if I don't talk about what's going on, some of the stresses that I'm going through, I tell her, hey, I'm going through this right now. I'm going through it right now. I just want you to just want you to know. Just let's and then she knows, and she'll be a little bit more supportive. But definitely it's something that a lot of men go through, and a lot of times we think we have to go through it alone. But in reality, for those of us who have a partner, if we can rely on our partners, there's I think it's something that's good because they're always there. And my wife has been a big support system during these big slumps, and I think that's what has helped me out a lot recently. Just being able to rely on her, going out, getting her a little bit more involved away from the kids when I go out for school. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I fly out to Connecticut once a month, and I'm finishing school right now, and if she has a Friday off from work, then I take her with me. I'm like, hey, it's your Friday off. I leave on Thursdays. We come back on Sundays. Let's go. And then she'll come with me, and then just talking it out. And I think the other day, and the thing is, when you're going through this, you don't realize like what you've accomplished, and you're not proud of what you've accomplished. And I was having this conversation with her the other day where I'm getting invited to do this, I'm getting these awards, I'm getting this, but I feel no emotion towards it. It's crazy because you're in the trenches. You feel like the work's not done. It's almost like when you're in the playoffs and you win the first round, but you're still in the trenches. You haven't accomplished the ultimate goal, where you want to be at the end. And it feels like that where there's these little small wins that I have that I feel no emotion towards, which is crazy. And she told me the other day something that I thought was pretty impactful. And she said, would the 6-year-old you or 8-year-old you be proud of who you are today? And
Yeah.
yeah, blew my mind, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I think my biggest what has helped me go through these hurdles has been in me opening up to her a lot more. And so that's totally that's how I get through things, honestly. And working out. I go into that deep funk even more even more when I don't work out. If I don't go out for a walk, or if I don't go to the gym, I can totally see me get into that funk even deeper without any physical activity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That wife one is a huge one, man. And I'm gonna add that one too, because my wife has definitely been, I would call it my anchor, because yeah, I think it's so easy to lose it. And then she's the one that I'd open up to, like, hey, I'm going through this. Hey, we just lost this amount on this deal, or this thing that I invested in didn't work out. And she knows, one, she understands, and two, she knows how my emotion is gonna be for the next week or two. But she also knows I'm gonna figure it out, right? She knows, like, all right, cool. So that means you're gonna be on grind mode for the next couple months until we recover from this, or But then also the wins, bro. Like she knows how to celebrate the wins, just as much as she knows how to support me through the bats. And yeah, having to open up with your wife is a huge one for sure.
yeah, man. Second that, like, and I think that goes both ways. Like like we're our number one people. We spend the most time together. Like you said, your wife should be your best friend, and I think that sometimes we get caught up on the grind for me and just life that we don't get that wine to unwind every night. We don't get to talk that much, and so we try to like go and have breakfast every Saturday morning, go get a coffee to try and touch base. And that doesn't happen every week, but we try. Because those moments in the car just commuting are valuable even.
Yeah.
And like just the other night, like in bed trying to put the baby to sleep, and actually he goes to sleep after not and realize it. We're just talking, and I think us talking and just having like background noise, he just falls asleep. But like she had a lot that she had to like kind of unpack with other stuff going on with her family. I just needed to listen. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we got to be mindful of, like not to internalize everything, and to at a minimum share it with your spouse, because that's for me who God put for me to balance out all that brain power. And like yeah, send ideas their way. Should we do this?
Yeah.
Share the stuff that's going on, even if it seems complicated to you. Like they always have this different angle, and it's just like just awesome. And when we make decisions, like I'm trying to get this property in Panama, like I've been telling you guys, but like I don't like how the mortgage details came out, and so we were talking about it the other day. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pray about it, and I need you to pray about it too. And like, if we feel like God's telling us that this is something that we should do, then we'll do it. There's other ways to do it, but I don't want to also make these big decisions by myself and then get caught up with the bag later on, and like, why did I do this kind of thing? So that's also a way that I've been able to minimize the potential guilt, where like, oh, I made this investment, didn't go well. It's like, hey, I want to make this investment. It's a risk. Should we do it?
Yeah.
If we go in this together, like if it goes south, like it goes south. That's not going to break our relationship because we talked about previously and we agreed to do this together. And so there are things like that that I think are super important and are key. But also we have each other, like I don't think we're meant to, do life alone. That's where we have spouses. That's where we have communities such as men. Men aren't supposed to do life alone either. And so that's why I wanted to touch on that, because like it's easy to talk about all the other stuff, but it's hard for men to talk about like, we have feelings too, and sometimes we get
Yeah.
down as strong and go getters as we are, like we are, like,
Yeah.
we're doing a lot, you guys, like,
We're
but
still
also
human.
like we're still human. We make mistakes. We
Yeah.
have emotions.
Yeah, man. Speaking of those emotions, what about the rewards of those emotions? Talk about, I feel like we do talk a lot about the sacrifices we've done, but the rewards of having a kid at 18, having the kid at 25, having a kid in the 30s.
And Jose just got a bunch of awards, bro. Like, let's hear, like,
Awards and
kick us
rewards,
off.
huh?
Yeah, like I said, I was when I got into that funk when I was talking to my wife about telling her that, like no emotion towards it. But then, my little 1-year-old, he comes and he does something, and we were having that conversation. He just comes into the room and then he does something just funny, trying to be funny about, oh my goodness, the emotions. That is like the most rewarding thing that I have and that I see. Just being able to provide for them, and being able to see them happy, them having, just my parents did everything. They come from nothing, but having things that I didn't have as a kid. Playground in their backyard. A family member one time came and they said, "Oh wow, you have a park in your backyard." It was it was I thought it was really cool, but having those giving them that life that you would see in TV, that's not how life is here in the US. Everyone talks about that the white picket fence life, and I as a kid I used to think that's not how it is in the US, but living that life now, it's super different. And very rewarding to see them happy and enjoy that. I think that's the biggest reward, just their happiness
Yeah.
is, yeah, what I enjoy the most.
Man, there's someone on Instagram who's like a Latino, and then he had like uh his family from Colombia calling him for money, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and then he goes outside and there's a tree full of money. He's like, "Yeah, let me just grab some money from the tree and just send it to you." And then there's another one. They were like calling him. He was on the toilet. He was like, "Oh yeah, like I have all this money I just produced right here. Let me come send it to you." And it's like that's not how it is, you guys. Like that is literally not how it is. Like the cost of living is different here, and so we do. I mean, my family, we do have nice things, but like I don't think my family understands the sacrifice that we have to make to even have that. And like we're basically middle class, like maybe upper middle class now, but like we're not like 1%ers or nothing around here. But this week, man, this week's been really profound, really telling for me. But like I took a walk down the street to give a neighbor some tamales, and I took our son on a Burley trailer. We have this Burley like that you hook up to the back of your bike. And for one, I was like, dude, I've had this Burley for so long. Our first son rode in this thing when he was the same age as our now, you know, almost 2 year old. And I was like, this is cool. Like, this still was a good purchase. This thing was expensive. And this thing has lasted a long time. And it's going to have two more babies in it. But also, I was just looking down the street and I was like, I can't believe we live here. Like, this is amazing. Like these trees are so tall and big, the streets safe, quiet. You know, it was like as close to the picket fence that I could have ever imagined. And it was fortified more during the week when my wife had to go help the neighbor put their dog in their backyard, and the neighbor opened the garage door for them. They're in Florida on vacation. And she was like, "Oh, I'm worried about the garage door being left open." I was like, "You don't have to worry about it. Like, it's fine. Like, it's a safe neighborhood." And to be honest, like they ended up closing it remotely from their phone just a little bit later. And so it's like, you gotta stop, pause sometimes to smell the roses. And I had those forcing factors this week. And the last one that I want to touch on was our son. So we do have a boat. Again, like my family never had a boat. Like we have a boat, and we launched the boat on the river, and I beach it, and then I go up to help park the car, and I hear someone yelling, and it's my son yelling. And so I run down, and like homeboy is going down river, bro. Like the boat unbeached itself, and like it's
Yeah,
floating down the river. And I have two homies on their jet boats downriver that I can call and they can come and grab my son. But I was like, you know what? And I got videos I'll send you guys. I'm just yelling like, "He's my end. Is the engine running?" Because I left it idling to warm up the engine. He's like, "Yeah, like it's making noise." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I was like, grab the thing by the steering wheel and like go forward and like steer. And it took him 15, 20 minutes. He was doing circles, and dude, he made it back. Like he was
that's
able
dope.
to slowly figure it out. And I was giving him signal and laughing up from the shore side too, I'm not gonna lie. And like he made it back. And so I was like, dude, how cool is this? Like, not only are we able to have this boat, but he's been in the boat for so long. He's been on this Pacific River for so long. Yeah. And my son's on the autism spectrum. So I think this was a lot for him. He didn't freak out and lose it and quit. He was able to understand, like, I'm here, my dad's right there. I've been here before. I can do this. And like for me, dude, that was like the most rewarding, proud father moment I've had in a while. Like homeboy made it back. He got us. He brought the boat back, and like we went out to live another day. No child was hurt in that
Yeah.
day's activities. So sometimes you just gotta pause from the flowers, man, and just be grateful for the little things that you got.
No, I agree, man. The rewards, yeah, like the kids just seeing their faces of happy, not understanding. So the transition, a lot of the fear was them not getting adapted to it, right? And them not liking speaking Spanish when they go out, them not feeling at home when we're living in our house. Those fears were like, dang, that could be something that happens, right? But when we got here, thankfully everything worked out. But then also knowing that, well, if it doesn't work out, we just go back. So it's not like, oh, we're doing this out of survival, or we're doing this because how our parents did it, right? Like we're doing this because we think it's a better opportunity, not to survive. And I think, yeah, stopping back and realizing like then that the problem that I'm having, the emotional stress that I'm having of this huge change isn't dramatic as it seems in the moment, right? So when you sit back and you realize, oh, okay, it's not that bad. If it doesn't work out, we have the opportunity to go back. We have we have work over there. I have work here. My kids are going to be happy whether they're here, whether they're over there. And I think being able to stop and realize that we're not doing anything out of survival anymore. And we came from that. We came from our parents knowing only to survive, right? And then I think we spoke about it on one of the episodes is that was our mentality for a while. And it took us a while to detach ourselves from survival mentality and starting into the growth mentality and be able to sit back and realize that we broke that generational aspect of not surviving, but actually living with our families and preparing for the future. I think that's something that we should definitely be grateful for, right? Because we can put money into our kids' accounts. We can put money into our own accounts. We can look at different avenues to invest for our future, right? That's something that most people don't have. Where we come from, they didn't have that. So when you see that as one of your stresses, it actually is one of your rewards. Being able to do that and having that option to do different things is, I think, one of the biggest rewards that I see. Being able to have the options, for sure.
Yeah, it's like these struggles sometimes that decisions that we have to make, like it's actually a privilege.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard
man.
someone once say that exactly. How blessed are we to have the struggles that we wished for? It's solely true. This is what we wanted. This is probably what we dreamt of, and now we're living it. So how blessed are we to have those struggles?
Yeah, I did hear someone say that stuck with me is like we are our ancestors' greatest dreams.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, love that.
And I think the closing question is, what does being a successful father mean to you today? Go.
That's a big question.
I can start just being a dad at such a young age and being a different parent to my oldest and then to now. I think just being present. I think that's what success looks like to me. Being more present and being able to enjoy those moments with the kids that they appreciate, their school awards, the school assemblies, or their sporting events, being able to be there present for those events with the kids. I think that's what success looks like to me. Just being a more present, more involved father.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like we're for me, I'm always looking back at the previous generation and honoring the sacrifices that my parents made by making sure that I level up on that level, you know? And so that's always my baseline is like generational wealth, leaving a legacy, uh, and not just being a good father for them, but being a good grandfather for the children that will come from them. And to be honest, like that's going to be the true sort of telling of how well we did is when they become parents. How will they do? What will they do that, even we didn't or couldn't? And so I don't think I could really answer because for me the answer is gonna be in 4 or 5 decades when that moment comes. And like I think it's really important for people to experience both births, which we have as fathers, but also death, right? Being close to someone in your family that's close to that, and like we spent time with their great grandparents on my wife's side, and recently I got to see my great aunt, who's the matriarch in our family, and it's like, man, I want to finish strong, man. I want people to come from far away to come visit me before I go. Like, I want to be that valuable, important. I want to be that, like, you know, I guess I just want to leave a legacy. Like, I want my
Yeah.
children to be around, to want to be around, you know, and have a lasting relationship with them throughout my entire life. Like, because at the end of the day, like, I build all these cool widgets, bro. I build all kinds of cool widgets and gadgets, but like, they die in a year or two, and the
Yeah.
people that I work with are more lasting than the projects. The people at my church community are more lasting than even those. And the people in my core family are just everlasting to me. And so I want to make sure that that line is continuous throughout my life. And I think that's how I'll measure myself at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both of those are good. And I would say being at peace with the decisions that we make is something that I feel like I would consider it as a good decision, right? Sacrificing, because today's topic was sacrifice, but sacrifices we've done so that I could be more present, sacrifices I've done so I can keep my unit more more unified. I think those I would call it successes of today. And there's plenty more. And just like there's gonna be more successes in the future. It's gonna be more sacrifices. There's gonna be more mistakes. But I think that's just part of it. And as far as the future success, the overall end success of like the legacy, um, I think that comes with the little steps that we do today, right? Like you said, Ed, yeah, we could build widgets. We could, I could have a client for help them do their taxes this year, and next year I won't see them again. But what you're building with your kids, what you're building with your kids' kids, with your mother, like you said, that one day will pass, and father will pass, grandfathers will pass. Those are things that you want to make the previous generation proud, and you want to make the next generation someone to look forward to. And I think that would be the ultimate success is being someone that has done it for the previous generation and has set up standards so that the previous generation or the next generation can succeed above yours because you broke some barriers. And I think that what success would be.
Yeah, and totally. And you've said it before, just breaking that cycle, elevating the family tree. And there always has to be that one person that sacrifices themselves in reality to break that cycle and elevate the family tree. Yeah, totally. Love that. Leaving a legacy is definitely something that I think we're all trying to achieve for our kid. Not, and again, not selfishly for ourselves, selfishly for our kids, for our grandkids, and anyone to come after them.
Yeah. All right, guys. You guys ready?
Yeah,
Awesome.
man, let's go spend some time with our wives.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Happy Mother's
Absolutely.
Day.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day to your wives.
I'll talk to you guys.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
See you guys.